stock, running and some issues. Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Well, good evening everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. So as you can see now, I've just got some trains running at the moment, and it's almost a job to see them, isn't it, above all the trees, but they are there, I promise you. So you can see, obviously, we've got the HST running, as you've seen on the previous occasions, both power cars, and that is running beautifully. And also the 67 is now running. It did fail on me after the last video, but I managed to get it going again. It was just a loose wire, it come off. But you'll see that it is a little bit noisy. And obviously, I don't know whether you saw the DVT painted up, but there it is. So when it comes around again this time, I'll bring the camera down and you'll be able to hear the noise. Yeah. So that's not on full power by any means, because it would literally drown us out if I put it on full power. I did put some grease on it in the gearing, but I think it's just a noisy motor. You know, I may look into the possibility of replacing the motor at some point. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, I've not done anything on the layout this week at all. The main reason for that is because I've not been particularly well. I think I've come down with the lurgy, not dreaded COVID. I don't think it's that. I think it was just a cold, and so I had to take a day off from school, which is when you're a supply teacher, that can be quite painful, to be honest, because you don't work, you don't get paid, simple as that. But you know, I've got to be well. You know, it's one of those jobs, isn't it, where you've got to be on top form pretty much all day. But there we go. That's the way that is. So what I have done, any work I've done on the layout has sort of been sitting on the settee, you know, with a table in front of me, that type of thing. So I have managed to transfer up the coaches, as you can see there. So I've got the 90 on the layout. This is literally the first time it's sat on Piccadilly. I've not had it running yet. It's coded and it's got an address. The DVT is now painted at the other end. The coaches are not the best job in the world, but to be honest with you, the transfer paper wasn't the greatest, and it made life very difficult, let's put it like that. So there's some bits on those which are not particularly great, but there's also one coach where its lights are out. I just discovered it had a short, but just as I put it on the layout, so that will run with no lights for the time being until I get a chance to rewire it, which is not a difficult job. Okay, I'll show you some more updates. And yes, before anybody mentions, yes, there is a mobile disco going on. Right, welcome back. So you can see now I've got a 153 in front of me, and it's been basically white painted, ready for the transfers. Being dark blue, the transfers wouldn't have shined and been as vibrant as they will be. So once that's done, I've got to gloss this first and then put the transfers on afterwards, and then that's pretty much ready for getting back on the layout. Obviously this all needs repainting, all that sort of stuff. This one has had the motor removed. As you remember, I said it was a bit of a nightmare getting it all apart. And the more I went into it, the worse it got. So, yeah. So I'm just going to run this one without lights, not even with a decoder in it. I'm going to couple it together with the other 153 and run the two together. I was thinking about taking the motor out of one anyway and making one into a dummy car because they weren't speed matched. And as much as I tried on the Z21, it's not easy if you've ever tried. So that will hopefully be transferred up this week and we'll take it from there. Next up. Right, next up, I don't know whether you recognise this, but I started work on the 323. Now, this is the first draft, and there is the cab. Now, when you look at it on the camera, it is not particularly kind, and that looks very rough. So it does need a lot more work, so please understand that. Now, I can't produce something which is going to be the same as, say, Graham Farish or Dapol or something like that. It's going to be my representation, so please understand that. You know, it's... You could... I know I could buy one, but they cost about £100 just for the shell, and I've had to buy the 170 as it is, and that's... I managed to get another one, by the way, which I'll show you in a minute. So, you know, this becomes a very, very, very expensive train if you go along that lines. So I'm hoping to get it to look roughly the right shape. I'm not overly worried if it looks a bit different. Now, this is the first draft, as I said, and when I compare this to the pictures, I realise that these windows are just a bit too small. So I've got to make them a bit bigger. It'll be easier just to reprint them and do it from there. But it does give you the idea of what this thing could look like. There you go. So I know it's all a bit vague, but you can get the idea of where we're going with that, can't you? And once I've tidied all this up, I might just get some model filler and do it with that. It wasn't an easy one to create in Tinkercad, and I dare say it might be easier in something like SketchUp. You know, it's a start, isn't it? Now, this isn't necessarily an exclusive Engage video, but you might be thinking, well, why are you showing us the APT and why is it back in the box? Well, the reason is because it failed. And I had it running one day with the sound on, and then suddenly it stopped. And as much as I tried to get it, well, I did get it going again, but every now and again it would just stop, and it was really difficult to get it going again. And I discovered that this rear, well, the slave car, if you like, because they're not dummies, they've actually got motors in them, but the slave unit wasn't responding as well as it should do. The main motor car was running as it should do on its own, but this won't run on its own. It needs that to be connected to it, because that's got the brain in it, if you like, with the decoder and all that sort of stuff. So I've had it back from Rapido, and you can see there, this has come from Dan, and he's replaced PC2, which I believe is this one, or no, that one, PC2, and also TC1, which is that one, I believe. So I've had a brand new coach and some new, one new power car. So it'll be interesting to get that back on the layout as well. That won't be appearing in this video, but I thought I'd better show you that. And just to update you on Caroline, I've now fitted the horns there, so you can now see horns are on both sides, and blimey, were they a nightmare to fit on. As big as they are compared to what I have to deal with in Engage, blimey, they wouldn't go in the holes ever so easily. So that took a bit of effort, that one, but they're in. Right, you may have noticed I made a comment about a mobile disco, and well, let's see how we can clean those wheels. So I'll just pull one set of bogies off, and on these Dapol carriages they literally just pull off. Now you can even see from that they're absolutely disgusting. So I'm going to take some tissue paper, this is toilet paper but it's the same sort of thing, and place it on the tracks, and I'll do this with all the bogies. So it'll take a little while. I'll show you one. You don't want to sit and watch me do it all, do you? Right, some IPA in the lid, and just tip it so it soaks through, and tip any excess back in the bottle. And then you take your bogie. You can do this with the coaches already, the wheels already on the coach if you want to, but I just find it easier to pull the bogies off if you can. And look at that. See already how disgusting that was. There you go. And then hopefully, if those contacts are clean as well, which I'll just do that with, that should make a huge difference. Right, I'll get all those done. I'll catch you shortly. I just thought I'd show you this. I've done a fair few carriages now, but look at that. It just goes to show how much muck gathers on the wheels, and a simple technique like this. And although this will start to dry out, it's been about 10 minutes now since the first of these two clips, and it's damp now, so it's still probably good for a little while longer, but obviously it's going to dry soon, so obviously it's not going to be a little good, so you need a new piece of paper and some more IPA. Anyway, I'll get the rest of the coaches done and I'll catch you shortly. Now, I've been having a few track issues recently, firstly with this point, and then one or two other bits which I'll explain in a minute. But this point, you might remember, I ballasted last week, and so when I went and sent the 142 over it, it stopped. So what happened was I then chose to go over with a dentist tool, which is quite a sharp pick, and just pick out anything that was stuck to the rails right inside there, and then make sure there is nothing caught inside here or inside here, because obviously anything in there on those faces there will stop the electrical conductivity. But also as the 142 went across it, it stopped, and potentially any debris that's caught anywhere along here that can lift the wheel off the track is also going to stop the power from getting to the wheels. So potentially you could end up with two wheels on one track only and the other two are up in the air. So I just used a track rubber, this tool and some isopropyl alcohol, sprayed it onto the track and then scrubbed it with a toothbrush, and just constantly kept going over that procedure until it worked. Now secondly, I've had an issue with this track and this track here, which goes all the way around, all the way around, all the way around, down to around about there, where the track join is. They just go dead. For some odd reason, a train would enter the circuit and just be dead. I had the HST new measurement train, and it just stops right on the point. Now, I did the same procedure as I did with this point down there. Fine, no problems. Well, the point's fine. But what it was is that it's lost conductivity. So what I did was I got a pair of pliers and just twisted on the fish plate. And it's the same thing. So take you back over there. I put a tool between the two rails to check, and also a track checker, which is a little plate with a bulb on the top, an LED on the top. And you put it between it and it lights up. So it's a classic example. You just put your pliers on the fish plate, twist, and it works again. How strange. But nevertheless, I've got it working again. It's very, very odd. I can only put it down to expansion and contraction. Obviously, we're getting colder now, and the layout is starting to shrink a little bit, or the track's starting to shrink a little bit. So I've not experienced these issues before, but I've had a lot more trackage added in the past year, haven't I? So we'll see. Anyway, moving on. Anyway, as you watch the 350 and the 90 circuit, the layout, I'm going to call the video to a close there. I hope you've enjoyed it. Something slightly different, a bit more of a running session this time, with the odd little bit of a issue solving, problem solving things just thrown into the mix as well. Anyway, hopefully I'll be better or well enough now to carry on with the layout this week. I am feeling a lot better than what I did earlier in the week. But time will tell, won't it, when you've been with a class of children. Anyway, I'll see you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly. Bye for now.